moving on, the game of the weekend, Manchester United versus Chelsea this weekend. Fuad, you're a Chelsea fan. I want to talk first of all about the impact Thomas Tuchel has had since coming in. The bravery, not even the bravery really. Stamping his authority on that Chelsea side at the weekend. It was the first time you dropped points on him against Southampton, and of course Callum Hudson-Odoi, who he bought on at half time, he bought off during the second half, and he said after the game, look, he just wasn't working hard enough.
Yeah, first of all, it's Tuchel time, baby. If any of those Chelsea haters watching, listen, it's time. It's time. You enjoyed our little banter period, but just before Frank left, and it was what it was. Yeah, okay, it was what it was. But now we've got the man in charge, and he knows what he's doing. The impact he has is ridiculous, man. Think about it. My man flew in 24 hours after being announced. He has a game against Wolves, right? Locks them off 0-0. We don't get the win 0-0, but we saw the impact straight away. Domination the whole game. Then we haven't lost since. We haven't lost one game. We drew obviously against Southampton. Win. Draw. Beating Atletico. Exactly the word you say, authority, man. He came in and he was like, listen, boys, I ain't having no BS around here. I'm going to play this way of football and you're going to do it. If not, you're not going to be part of this squad. And then that goes straight into Hudson-Odoi. He loves Hudson-Odoi. There's nothing going on there. I've seen people straight after the game, something going on in the dressing room, this, that. Have you guys not been seeing the way he hugs him after the game? Like, they're like father and son, like, oh yeah, you did really good, like just in his face, just being so happy, laughing. Like it was just a pure again father figure thing where it was like, you're not doing what I want you to do in this situation, you're coming off. However, I felt a bit iffy about that because I was like, all right, who are you bringing on? Ziyech didn't really make a difference in the game anyways. Ziyech he's so I really liked Ziyech when we signed him, and I saw what he could do, but he's so one-dimensional in what he does. I didn't see how he was going to change that game. If anything, Hudson-Odoi, what he was doing still was working. Even though he wasn't playing to Tuchel's style or plan or whatever it was in that moment that he wanted him to do, he was still doing what he had to do, and he was still being that classic wing back, running towards players what we need and being a threat. Tuchel just showed his authority, and it is what it is. You got to look at the positives, you got to look at the negative. But look, he started against Atletico, so there's nothing wrong there. We just move on from it like it didn't even happen. I'm just glad we don't have a sorry situation, where he's like, Kepa, come off, and Kepa's like, nah, I'm good, I'm gonna stay on. So at least we have a guy who, shout out Maurizio Sarri, did what he had to do. But Tuchel is just so happy to have him, man. Honestly, like I can't even. I'm so excited for next season more so than the end of this season. Because the end of this season, it's tipsy-turvy. Anything can happen. We can have a 2012. We honestly could. Or we could just, fall out of top four and maybe go into the quarters of the Champions League, which will be nice, but whatever. Next season, when he looks at the squad and he looks at, all right, you're not good enough for my team. You're not good enough for my team. You're not going to get out. Move. That's it. No loyalties. You're not good enough. And then the board will obviously back him, pour in the millions as we do. The oil money will come through. And we'll do what we got to do, sign the players that we need to sign carefully this time, please. Not just go out and buy any star kid because every single player this season hasn't delivered any new signing, and we'll do what we have to do. But right now, Man United Sunday. Listen, Man United fans, don't get gassed because you're sat there on the table. It doesn't mean nothing. You and your Ole bus, whatever that you want to call it, it's nothing, man. Honestly, it's honestly, Man United are a club of nothingness. They're not. They just don't. They don't excite me. They don't. They have one or two good performances, and boom, they're the best thing that ever happened since sliced bread. You're not. Your form is terrible. I think it's alongside with Liverpool the worst form they're going through right now. I think they were like draw, win, loss. They've got one of the worst runs anyway. I don't know how they're still second, but they are. But yeah, I just can't wait to whoop them, man. Honestly, I believe we'll whoop them.
We'll get into that game in a moment, but Matt, first of all, what do you make of Hudson-Odoi's new role?
It's really interesting, and I think it's credit to Thomas Tuchel and obviously the understanding that he has of football, that he can be in there in 24 hours and he can spot that. Look, I'm sure he knew maybe a few days, maybe a few weeks even in advance before Frank was sacked that he was going to get that job. But it's I don't think it's a position Hudson-Odoi has ever played before. I think he's been either a winger on either side of the front three. But the spot that was incredible by Tuchel, and it's working. So you can't really criticize it. And for me, it's kind of similar to the way Victor Moses played for Chelsea, and that is the 2016-17 season when he was extremely influential in that attacking team. And I know he had the kind of the comfort of having Cesar Azpilicueta in that right centre back role alongside him, which perhaps Hudson-Odoi is lacking, with Thiago Silva kind of being the main man holding that defence together. From what I can see, anyway, as an opposition fan. But it's fantastic from Tuchel. And look, I understand the excitement for Chelsea fans among Thomas Tuchel coming in, but I think what needs to be remembered, they kind of need to ground themselves a bit, is when every manager comes into a new club, there's always a managerial bounce, every single one. So I think what will really tell how successful Tuchel may be at Chelsea is when they do get that first loss and then that second loss, how he responds to that, how the team responds to that. Can he still get the same sort of energy, the same sort of desire out of them? And, then I think we can really start to take a look at him. But it's hard to deny that he's had an absolutely fantastic start. They've won, of course, a lot of their recent games. And look, I know they beat Spurs as well, which I'm not going to say is an accomplishment, but it's a win in a derby nonetheless. So look, there's definitely a prospect there. I was talking to a Chelsea fan earlier in the season, and he was having this really similar excitement and hype about Frank Lampard at Chelsea. So, look, maybe things could turn a bit sour very quickly. And as a Spurs fan, I wouldn't be.
Frank Lampard at Chelsea was completely different, because even when we were going through that unbeaten run, I said to every Chelsea fan, only towards the end, I did let a bit of excitement out. But during that period when we were unbeaten for time, I think the last game we lost was against you guys in the cup, and then we went unbeaten for a while. I said, listen, boys, just watch the food cook in the microwave. Just let it heat up. And then when the big games come, we'll see what happens. The big games came and we fell so hard. So far, so good from Tuchel. Yes, he's had a few easy games, but also a few tough games. Tottenham, even though they're on a bad run of games, they're still a good side. They still got good players. I don't care. It's still a good accomplishment. It's still a derby, and Jose wants to beat Chelsea. We know that. Everything else goes out the window. Atletico Madrid, the best in La Liga, apparently. They ain't do nothing. Suarez, listen, Christensen went home, emptied his pocket, and there was Suarez, bro. He wasn't nowhere to be found. Giroud with the most incredible, but I'm joking, it wasn't that great, but it was a good bicycle kick. It was a great finish. But yeah, no, I get it. There is a level of understanding of, all right, things can go a bit south maybe in the next few weeks, because, again, Man United, Liverpool, Everton, Leeds, and then Atletico again. So this is the testing period for us right now, but I am hella confident. I'm more confident than I was when Lampard was in. I just feel like the domination of football is something that defo helps us. The one thing missing from our side, and I'll just say this, is just that last finish, that last third, rough, rugged Diego Costa type stuff. That's why we need Haaland. I'm not even going to lie. If we could pull off Haaland next season's it's over. I'm joking. I'm not even joking. But yeah, that's what we're missing right now, because what we have everything else. We build up perfectly. We make the chances, but when it comes to that final third, that last bit of really toughness when it comes to it, we don't have it. And yeah, that's where we need to fix up.
And that's what you signed Timo Werner for, wasn't it?
Thank you for sticking that one on me. Listen, Timo Werner, look, I think every Chelsea fan loves him because of the fact, we know he's not been bagging the goals. It's there for everyone to see. But if you watch Chelsea games, the way that he does play, you've got to appreciate him, because out of the flops that we have had, and we've had a few flops in our time, trust me, he's probably the best one in terms of alongside Fernando Torres, because Torres did a madness in the Champions League and the Europa League final. He's the way he plays and the hunger he has, even though he's new to the Premier League and everyone's on his back, he's playing with desire that he wants that, and I believe in time he will come of good. But again, I don't think at the same time that's why we signed him for scoring goals. Yeah, he's a gunman. That's what he's known for. But I'm talking about we need that, what we probably wanted from Tammy Abraham, but we're not getting. And that's why Tammy Abraham might be leaving. We need the Diego Costa, the Didier Drogba type of striker in our squad again. Timo Werner's I think he's perfect just behind a bigger striker. Giroud, for example, that works well. But Giroud, he's great, but is he the one to do it all the time, every week in, week out? I don't think so.
So let's talk about that Chelsea United game. You're clearly very confident, Fuad. Matt, what do you think how do you think it'll pan out?
I think it's going to be as unpredictable as the rest of this Premier League season has been. I find it so hard to actually put forward any sort of confident expectations of any game this season. But I think United, obviously, they have a chance to win this game. And one thing that Solskjaer has managed to do is make them a bit more effective in the bigger games this season. That hasn't always converted into results. Of course, the 6-1 defeat against Spurs, which I do think was some bit of a turning point for them. They also didn't they lose to Arsenal at home this season as well. But I agree with Fuad that United aren't as good as their position in the table actually says. And I've been saying it for a while. It's almost a fraudulent position because they're just the best of a really, really bad bunch. And look, you can't put that down to the competitiveness of the league this season. Sheffield United going and winning at Old Trafford. Anything does seem possible, but you can't deny that the teams that are usually up and around that top four have just been really poor this season. I mean, looking at Arsenal down in 10th, Spurs in 9th, Chelsea now looking to hit a bit of form under their new manager. Liverpool, of course, of all their issues. The fact, for me, look, David Moyes has done a great job for West Ham, but the fact that West Ham are sitting in the top four of the Premier League tells you there's something up. There's something up, and United have just, as I said, managed to be the kind of best team of that bunch. And what's the most baffling thing for me is that players like Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial still have a starting place in that team. And that just goes to show how weak United squad is, because look, Rashford every now and then will pop up with a goal or an assist, and any United fan will tell you this, he's not a good footballer. He could get 5 chances in a game, he'll sky for them and he put one away, and that's kind of all people will focus on. His first touch just is not good enough. He's able to take a man on, but then he get overconfident, try to take the next man on, and then he'll lose the ball. And it's a weird one. It may be almost like that United position in the table where the numbers might tell a bit of a different story, which, look, at the end of the day, probably is the main thing you need to look at when you're talking about a player. But I think a lot of the time he detracts more from those Manchester United attacking moves than he actually adds. And with Anthony Martial, it just hasn't been his season. Now, he's a much, much more talented footballer than what he's shown this season, but it just hasn't happened for him at all this year. And if those players are in that team, maybe United are a bit weaker than anything else might suggest. But having said that, it's a clash between two big teams. Chelsea on form, United off form. Is it just one of those Premier League games where things are going to swing? Is it just this season where United are going to go out and get that 3 points? I don't know, but I think it's going to be a very interesting game nonetheless, and it's there for either team to take it, I think.
Following your point, though, can I just add this real quick? I think that you mentioned Martial and Rashford. I think it goes to show, and every rival fan has to just admit this, how good Bruno Fernandes really is. I mean,
yeah,
he's just ridiculously good, man. Without him, like that team would be in Arsenal right now. Honestly, he is something else, bro. Like, I tried bantering him for the longest, penalties, all of that, just rinsing him as long as I possibly could. But he's switched that Man United side on their head, man. But yeah, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, the impact he's had on United has been magnificent, really, hasn't it? I think the issue with Martial and Rashford is they're both predominantly left-sided players, and we've seen at times Ole has tried to put Rashford on the right to accommodate Martial on the left. That doesn't work. Martial through the middle. I'm not a fan of that personally. It's weird how it works, and I think Rashford is obviously better on the left, and this season his form has been a lot better than Martial. Goal scoring form, just all round form has been better. It's interesting, obviously, that Cavani doesn't get used more, because every time he plays, he seems to have a real impact on this United side. I'm surprised we've not seen Greenwood more through the middle for United, because he is an excellent finisher of the ball, young Mason Greenwood. Yeah, I want to hear first you, Fuad. What do you make of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Because he gets a lot of criticism, and you're both right in saying, their position in the league isn't perhaps the right one this season, and it's perhaps making them look better than they are. As a Liverpool fan, with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I'm happy him staying there as long as they want, because I don't think they'll win a trophy under him. That's my honest opinion. So, I'm happy with them being in the position they are in the league at the moment, because it'll buy him a few more years. And it's a false perception of where that club is actually at the moment, just because of what you both alluded to, the form of the rest of the so-called big teams. But Fuad, what do you make of him?
He seems like a nice geezer, doesn't it? You just want to have a nice cup of tea with him. He seems like a nice guy. I don't want to use the word fraudulent, but it's near about. I mean,
teacher.
PE teacher, yeah, whatever you want to call him, PE teacher, fraud, like, I don't know. I don't know if correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Frank Lampard have the best record or win percentage out of Ole, Arteta, and Lampard? It's something along the lines of that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I'm sure it was something along the lines of that. Anyway, it shows the difference in levels of the club. But it's hard to judge him because of where they've gone and how they've gone. Like they were 10th at one point, they're second. So it's hard to judge him. I just don't think he's Man United caliber because look, the guy's been a manager for how many years now? People forget that he's not just decided to be a Frank Lampard or Arteta and just become a manager of a club. Arteta had a few years at Man City, but this guy's been managing for many, many years now. He should be a very good manager. He's not. He's not a good manager, and he's not the level of Man United. He might be a good manager for a lower level team. Who knows? I think he won one Norwegian division. I think that's what he won. That's his one trophy that he's won as a manager. And I just don't think he cuts it for Man United. He really doesn't. It's the same as Frank Lampard going from Derby to Chelsea. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer going from, was it Moldy or whatever they're called?
Moldy,
yeah. To Man United. The only difference is Ole had this much time and Lampard had a season and then went. So it kind of shows the level he's at. And yeah, I am more than happy. Keep him, lads. Honestly, Man United, keep him. Do what you got to do because you ain't winning a trophy with it, not anytime soon anyway. I'm sorry, you're not.
I think that's where they keep falling. You mentioned in the big games in the league, they seem to do okay, and they're quite good at managing to pick up points in the league. But when it comes to the real big games in like semi-finals, which Manchester United have got to a lot of, they fall, and that is because, in my opinion, though they've got some world-class players in that squad. We've mentioned Bruno and Pogba, who often get the freedom to do what they want. I think the coaching is what lets them down in them big games. I really do. But we're going to have to wrap up that topic of conversation there. Quickly, you two, score predictions for the Chelsea United game?
If we lose, it's going to be a dumb, stupid defensive error because that's the only way I see us conceding, or a flipping penalty. Either one. But I'm going to go for a 2-0 Chelsea win. I feel like we'll dominate them from the get-go. I think we'll keep possession as we have been doing. And so we'll get a goal from somewhere. I know we will. But honestly, like, as confident as I am a bit nervous as well because it's Man United. They always flip and get something. So, but I hope I'm going for a 2-0 Chelsea.
Matt, you said it was difficult to call earlier. What are you saying?
Yeah, I'd say because it's at Stamford Bridge, you might give Chelsea the edge in a 2-1.
I'm saying 0-0. I think it's going to be drab. And, I think for Tuchel, he'll try and, keep that unbeaten record that he's got at the moment at Chelsea, and he'll be happy with a point. I think Ole will be happy with a point, and we'll see a dull 0-0.